All right, so what you were looking at in front of you are a couple really cool cases. And what were these cases designed for? To hold the Celoton vehicle scales that Celoton provided for a showcase on my channel. And I don't think we're ever going to use these again for that specific purpose. We have the actual scales and the pads outside of these because they're a lot easier for us to access. I could understand if you're like a law enforcement agency, construction company, something like that, where you'd want to keep them in these rolling cases. But for us, it's not really practical to keep them in these cases. So these cases just take up a lot of room that is in very, very short supply here until we build the barn. And check these things out. So they're made out of steel. The tolerances are absolutely fantastic. They're padded, designed to fit both of the scales in here, framed out really well. They got some nice screws going all the way around, and they're all Phillips head screws, which mean they can easily be removed, which makes it very practical for what we're going to talk about in a second. They have some really nice, they look like roller skate quality ball bearing little casters down there on the bottom. Some adjustable feet as well. Very, very nice paint, high gloss red paint. Have these handles that slide out. Again, they're both built just exceptionally well. And they are designed to hold 2 of the scales each, so 4 scales total amongst 2 of these. These cases probably weigh about 40 pounds each. They are not lightweight, but the scales individually weigh about 50 pounds each, or actually closer to 60 pounds, I think. So yeah, they definitely had to build these well enough to where they would hold up to that type of abuse of just moving these around in and out of vehicles and the different environments that you might use something like this. And again, all the panels on the side are individually attached using Phillips head screws. So, you know, my buddy Mark was like, you know what? Instead of us just throwing these away or trying to put them somewhere where they'll eventually rust and die, why don't we do something very special to them? So he suggested that we call my neighbor the welding master, the master welder, to see what he would be able to do with these. We're going to drop these off at his place, and he is going to take on the challenge of transforming these into something useful, unique, and well built. So those were the 3 criteria. Looks like the sand cranes are coming back. But he knows the environment that we're in, and he is going to do something with these and surprise me. I'm not exactly sure. I have my ideas. I mean, I sent him kind of a video message of what it was, and he was like enthusiastically excited to tackle this project. And I'm going to pay him to do it, so he's not doing this free or anything. And I just, you know, wanted to see what he'd be able to come up with and how we can recycle these into something useful. And, you know, throw your ideas in the comment section below. I'd really like to know what you think we could turn these into. And again, take a close look at it so you kind of see what they're all about. Nice hinges. Have a nice pull handle here. Very cool. So yeah, we're going to drop these off with him today. He is going to do something with them over a period of probably a few weeks. He's working on several other projects, and I'm not going to ask him to prioritize this at all. But then they will eventually be returned in a different form as a item that I can reuse or repurpose here at the property. So again, leave a comment below. What would you turn these into if you had that option? Okay, so we have this thing pretty much completely stuffed. And not just stuffed, but compacted. It is, it's about as full as it can get. So probably 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago, we trimmed a bunch of the front trees, filled it up. So it was probably 5-6 feet above the edge here, crushed it down. In the past 2 weeks, all that stuff died and it compacted itself down. We had some rain and some other things too. And we filled it up probably twice over now with more material. This thing is completely loaded to the gills. And I think it's ready to go to the landfill. Got a little bit of space up here. You can kind of see through this little area. I'm kind of cautious on how I compact this very front area right here, because I got the winch up there and then I got the tarping system and I don't want to damage that. Yeah, this trailer is an absolute beast and it's worked out really well for us. You know, maybe this is just me, but I watch videos on folks who buy trailers, and it's all the brands. There's this perception with products like this, just like there is with RVs and just about everything else that's built that's not like a heavy-duty piece of construction equipment like my Mini X. But there's this perception that when you buy this stuff, one brand is like superior to another. One brand builds junk products. One brand does a great job kind of with the structural side of it, but then from a finishing details perspective, things like that, they lack. And you know, my perception on this whole industry is kind of interesting because, you know, if it's an RV, I do expect a certain level of fit and finish. I do, because you're walking through it, you're touring it. It's something that you could very well kind of live in as a part of your home. But when it's something like this, you know, I'm gonna hit the side of it occasionally. You know, I'm gonna scratch it up. I'm gonna put a dent in it. I think I got a dent somewhere in the side here from where the bucket of the excavator pressed down on it. And because this thing is gonna have a hard life, I don't expect there to be a certain level of detail, only because I just know that it's gonna eventually have some damage to it. It's gonna eventually be beat up and worn out. So I kind of expect them to do, you know, kind of an industrial level job building it. You know, from a cosmetic perspective, do I expect the trailer to look good? Yeah, I absolutely do. But do I focus in on every little detail of this like I would, you know, an RV, or like I would a vehicle or a piece of, you know, construction equipment like that? Not necessarily. And this is just me. So I'm not trying to give the industry a pass if you're one of those folks who goes shopping for a dump trailer or a utility trailer and you expect it to be flawless. But, you know, from a sheer materials perspective, I want it to be robust. I want it to be strong. That's really what I care about more than anything. I want it to be able to do the job that I got it for and not fail. That's really what I'm looking for out of a piece of equipment like this. You know, if I see like a shoddy weld, if I see a little bit of slag somewhere, if I see that, I just don't care personally. That may not be you, but that's just me, even if you're spending a lot. But kind of the way I view it is, you know, this trailer, brand new, is in the $12,000 price range. But the fact is that this thing weighs more and has heavier duty materials than any RV that would be in the $40,000, $50,000 price range. So I could imagine from a assembly perspective, from a welding perspective, from putting this thing together, you know, as long as it's built well, as long as I'm not having like major issues with it and it's performing to what I'm expecting it to perform, the standards at least, and it's not falling apart, that's really what I'm looking for in something like this. Again, whereas an RV, you want it to feel like a home. And, you know, there's no surprise that RVs have a lot of other issues, a lot of other problems. But whenever I look at my trailer, again, I'm looking for it to accomplish a task. I do want it to look nice. I do want it to perform well. But if I see slag somewhere, if I see, you know, something that might not have been assembled 100% perfectly, I generally don't care as much with this. As long as it's doing the thing that I want it to be able to do for me, it's doing it well, and there's not anything that's just so blatantly horrible about it that, you know, I have to stop and go, wow, they must have been, you know, having a really bad day whenever they assembled it. Because, you know, little things, like I said, I mean, even when I attached the winch, you know, I didn't put high gloss paint to match the red paint. I just bought red paint. You know, I don't put a lot of detail into certain things myself, well, mainly because, again, I know what this trailer's used for, and I'm pressing down on it with a mini axe. I'm dumping rocks into it. I'm dumping all sorts of stuff into this thing, and I expect it to get scratched up, beat up, and abused. And again, as long as it does the task that it was designed for. Yeah, you know, hydraulics might eventually fail. Battery's gone bad. I already replaced the batteries on it. Little things like that. But mechanically, the thing's been pretty dang solid for me. If I have problems, brake issues, axle issues, things like that, you know, I'll let you guys know. But again, if those are the issues you are having, then absolutely you need to get those resolved. But just like tractors and everything else, I think the message is oftentimes, how well are you being taken care of from a service perspective? Because what these things are designed for inevitably means they're going to have problems. They're going to eventually have issues. They're not designed to be as gingerly taken care of as maybe your pickup truck. So anyways, just a little point I wanted to make about this video to wrap it up. Guys, we're going to run this thing off to the landfill, get it emptied out so we can reuse it again and abuse it again. If you haven't had a chance, please take a moment, subscribe to the channel, give me a thumbs up. We'll talk to you again soon.